The alien jungle was alive with strange sounds. Huge trees twisted toward the sky, their roots like giant snakes. Every leaf seemed to whisper warnings. Somewhere far away, a deep roar echoed, making the ground tremble. Lyra moved silently through the tall grass, her long ears twitching at every noise. She was a scout, trained since childhood to track dangerous creatures. But today was different. Today, she and her hunting party were tracking the most feared animal on the planet, the apex predator. Stories said it could move without a sound, leap across rivers, and tear apart armored soldiers with a single strike. Its black skin was harder than steel, its eyes glowed like fire, and its claws dripped with poison. No one had ever captured it. Many had tried. None had returned. Lyra's heart pounded. Every step felt like walking toward death. She glanced at the warriors behind her. Even they, strong and armed, had nervous eyes. The jungle air was heavy, full of tension, and every shadow seemed to hide something watching. Suddenly, she stopped. The ground ahead showed massive footprints, fresh, deep, and perfect in shape. The apex predator had passed here minutes ago. Lyra raised her hand, signaling the others to be quiet. She moved closer, touching the print. It was warm. Then she saw something strange. Just beyond the prints, another set of footprints appeared, smaller, lighter human footprints. Her brow furrowed. No humans lived here. The nearest human settlement was far away. She followed the tracks through a curtain of thick vines, her steps slow and careful. The air felt colder here, and a strange smell of smoke hung around. And then she saw him. A man stood in a small clearing, his back to her. His clothes were torn and dusty. He carried no weapon, no armor, nothing that could protect him in this deadly jungle. Yet, he stood calmly, looking at something on the ground. Lyra's instincts screamed danger. The apex predator was near. She scanned the trees, her eyes wide, and her breath caught. The predator's tracks circled right behind the man. She rushed forward, her voice sharp. "Human! Move!" The man turned, surprised but not afraid. Before Lyra could explain, the air filled with a heavy, rhythmic sound. Footsteps, slow and powerful. The ground seemed to shake with each step. From the shadows, the monster appeared. It was even bigger than the stories said, its black armor glistening, eyes burning red. Its mouth opened, revealing teeth as long as knives. Lyra's body tensed. This was the end. But something happened that froze her in place. The beast stopped right in front of the human and lowered its head, like a loyal animal greeting its master. The man smiled, reached out, and calmly scratched the predator's head. Lyra's mind screamed. This was impossible. Lyra could not move. Her hands gripped her weapon, but her mind could not understand what she was seeing. The most dangerous creature in the jungle, the killer of her people, was standing like a tame animal in front of a human. The predator's glowing red eyes blinked slowly, its breathing calm. Its massive claws dug lightly into the dirt, but it made no move to attack. Instead, it leaned into the man's hand like it enjoyed the touch. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. "It's following you," she whispered, almost to herself. The man glanced at her and smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said in a calm voice, as if this was completely normal. "He likes me." Her mind raced. No one could like a human here. The apex predator didn't even spare its own kind. It killed anything that entered its territory. She had seen it rip apart armored soldiers, crush bone like dry wood, and vanish into the trees without a sound. Yet this man stood here without fear, without a weapon, and the beast obeyed him? Suddenly, the predator's head lifted. Its ears twitched. It turned sharply, eyes fixed on the trees. A low growl rumbled from its throat. Lyra spun around, scanning the shadows. The sound of rustling leaves came from all directions. Something else was here. The hunting party that had been following her emerged from the brush. Spears ready, faces pale. When they saw the beast, they froze. One of them whispered, "Run," but his voice trembled. The predator stepped forward, placing itself between the man and the hunters. Its muscles tensed, but not like it was going to kill him, like it was protecting him. Lyra raised her hand to stop the warriors from attacking. If they threw their spears, they would all die in seconds. "Stay back," she ordered. The man rested his palm gently on the predator's neck. "Easy," he murmured, and the giant beast obeyed, its growl fading to silence. The hunters stared in disbelief. One of them whispered to Lyra, "What is he? No one can do this." Lyra didn't answer. She didn't have an answer. The human looked at her again. "You're tracking him, aren't you?" he asked, nodding toward the beast. Lyra forced herself to speak. "That thing has killed dozens of our people. It is the deadliest creature in the jungle. And you're walking with it like a pet." The man's eyes narrowed slightly. "Maybe the problem is, you've never tried to understand him." Her voice shook. "Understand? That thing understands only hunger and death." The predator let out a slow, rumbling sound, almost like a laugh, and leaned closer to the man. Lyra's blood ran cold. She had seen enough to know one thing: whatever was happening here was only the beginning. Lyra kept her distance as the human and the beast walked ahead. The jungle seemed to open for them, as if even the shadows dared not block their way. The predator's tail swayed lazily, but every step was silent, controlled. A predator's grace. She had seen animals follow hunters before, but never like this. This was not fear. This was not chains or force. The creature walked as if it chose to be there, like it trusted the human completely. The man didn't look back. His hand rested on the predator's shoulder as if they were old friends. Lyra's hunters whispered behind her, too afraid to get closer. One muttered, "This is a trick. He controls it with some hidden device." Another shook his head. "No device can make the apex predator obey. We've tried for years." Lyra ignored them. Her eyes stayed fixed on the human. She needed to know how he had done it. At last, the group stopped in a clearing where the sunlight spilled through broken branches. The predator lowered itself to the ground, folding its huge limbs neatly. The man sat beside it, leaning back like he was sitting next to a campfire, not a killing machine. Lyra stepped forward cautiously. "What is your name, human?" she asked. He glanced up. "Jack. Jack," she repeated, her voice slow. "Do you know what this thing is? Do you understand how many of my people it has killed?" His expression softened. "I know exactly what he is," he said, running a hand over the predator's armored head. "But he's not what you think." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Not what I think. It's an apex predator. Kills everything." Jack's gaze met hers. "It kills because you all hunt it. You fear it. You try to cage it. But no one has tried something else." Lyra tilted her head. "And what is that?" Jack smiled faintly. "Friendship." Her jaw tightened. "You expect me to believe you made friends with a beast that can tear through steel?" "I don't expect you to believe it," he replied. "I expect you to see it." As if on cue, the predator let out a low, deep rumble. Not a threat, but a calm, satisfied sound. It closed its eyes, resting its head against Jack's leg. Lyra's hands curled into fists. She wanted to say it was a trick, an illusion, anything. But the truth was clear. The monster was relaxed, gentle, even protective around him. And that was impossible. The wind shifted, carrying with it the scent of something else, something dangerous. The predator's eyes snapped open, scanning the trees. Jack rose to his feet slowly. "Stay close," he told Lyra. "You're about to see why he trusts me." The path out of the jungle led to Lyra's home camp, a fortified circle of tall wooden walls and guard towers. When the sentries saw Jack walking beside the apex predator, their shouts filled the air. "Hold your weapons," Lyra called, but the guards were already raising crossbows and spears. The predator stood tall, its armor-like skin glinting in the sunlight. It didn't roar. It didn't charge. It simply stayed beside Jack, watching the nervous soldiers with slow, unblinking eyes. Word spread quickly. In minutes, half the camp gathered to see the human and his pet. Mothers pulled their children away. Warriors whispered, Elders frowned in disbelief. Then the war chief stepped forward. His body was scarred from years of battle, his eyes cold and sharp. He stared at Jack, then at the predator. "This is a dangerous thing you bring here, human," he said. "Do you expect us to believe it will not attack?" Jack's voice was calm. "He won't hurt anyone unless you give him a reason." The crowd murmured. The chief's lip curled. "No creature like that can be tamed. If you are telling the truth, you will prove it." Lyra's eyes widened. "Chief, that's not." "Silence," the chief snapped. He pointed toward the center of the camp. "You will walk with this beast among my people. No cage, no leash. If one person is harmed, you and the beast will be put down." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some shouted for Jack to leave. Others demanded to see the test. Jack simply looked at the predator. "What do you think, buddy?" he said quietly. The beast let out a low, steady breath, almost like a sigh, and stepped forward. The chief crossed his arms. "Begin." Jack and the predator walked slowly through the camp. Every eye followed them. Children peeked from behind doorways. Warriors kept their hands tight on their weapons. The predator ignored them all, its focus on Jack. Lyra followed closely, ready to jump in if things went wrong. Halfway through the walk, a young soldier panicked. He grabbed a spear and hurled it, the sharp tip slashing across the predator's leg. The beast's roar split the air, loud enough to shake the walls. Its eyes burned bright red, its muscles tensed to strike. The crowd screamed and stumbled back. "Stop!" Jack shouted, stepping in front of the predator. His voice was loud, firm, full of command. The predator froze, claws still raised, but slowly lowered its head. Its breathing calmed. The camp fell silent. The war chief's eyes narrowed, but he could not hide the flicker of surprise. Jack turned to him. "I told you," he said, his voice steady. "He trusts me." The crowd was frozen. No one spoke, no one moved. The predator stood still, its deep growl fading into the heavy silence. Jack kept his hand on the beast's head, his calm voice breaking through the fear. "It's okay. No one's going to hurt you now." But Lyra could see the truth. The predator's muscles were still tense, its tail twitching with barely controlled rage. One wrong move and it would attack. The war chief stepped closer, his sharp eyes scanning Jack. "Impressive, but I am not convinced. One calm walk is not proof." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What would convince you?" The chief's mouth curved into a cruel smile. "Take it beyond the walls. Show us it will protect you when there is danger, and not turn on you." Lyra's heart sank. This wasn't a test, it was a trap. Outside the walls, the jungle was full of other predators. If the apex predator saw another threat, its natural instincts could take over. Still, Jack only nodded. "Fine." Moments later, the gates creaked open. Jack and the predator stepped out, with Lyra and a group of warriors following at a distance. They didn't have to walk far before danger found them. From the shadows, a pack of smaller but deadly jungle hunters appeared, lean, fast creatures with hooked claws and snapping jaws. They circled, their eyes fixed on Jack. Lyra gripped her weapon. She knew these hunters. They attacked in a blur, tearing prey apart before it could scream. The apex predator let out a deep, rumbling roar, loud enough to make the smaller creatures hesitate. But then one lunged forward. In an instant, the predator moved, faster than Lyra thought possible. It slammed the attacker into the ground, teeth bared, ready to kill. "Stop!" Jack's voice rang out like thunder. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The predator froze, its jaws inches from the smaller creature's neck. Slowly, it stepped back. The smaller hunter scrambled away, vanishing into the undergrowth. The rest of the pack scattered. Lyra couldn't believe it. The apex predator had obeyed, even in the heat of a fight. Jack turned, meeting her wide-eyed stare. "Trust works both ways," he said quietly. Behind them, even the war chief had no words. That night, the camp was quiet. The stars above the alien jungle glowed like silver fireflies in the sky. Lyra sat alone near the watchtower, her mind still replaying what she had seen. The apex predator, the most feared creature on the planet, had obeyed a human's voice. Not once, but twice. It made no sense. Footsteps approached. She turned and saw Jack, the predator walking calmly at his side. Its red eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, but there was no threat in them, only watchfulness. "You should be sleeping," Lyra said. Jack sat on a flat rock nearby. "Couldn't sleep," he replied. "Too many eyes on us." She hesitated, then asked the question burning inside her. "How? How did you tame it? No tricks. No lies." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up at the stars. "I didn't tame him. I saved him." Lyra frowned. "Saved him?" "Years ago," Jack began, "I crashed here. My ship was gone. My supplies were almost gone too. I wandered into the jungle and found him. Smaller back then, but still dangerous. He was trapped, wounded. Something had crushed his leg, and he couldn't move." Lyra listened closely. "I could have left him," Jack continued, "but I didn't. I built a fire. I stayed all night, keeping the other hunters away. I cleaned his wound, gave him food. For weeks, I stayed until he could walk again." Lyra's eyes softened. "And he remembered?" Jack smiled faintly. "Animals remember kindness longer than people think. He started following me. I didn't train him. I didn't chain him. We just stayed together. We hunted together. We protected each other." The predator let out a low, gentle rumble, pressing its head against Jack's side. Lyra's chest tightened. All her life, she had been told humans were strange, reckless, dangerous. But this was different. Jack wasn't dangerous because he was strong. He was dangerous because he cared, even for something the whole world feared. "You built trust," she said softly. Jack nodded. "That's the only reason he listens to me. Trust is stronger than fear." They sat in silence for a while. Then Lyra noticed movement in the distant tree-line. Dark shapes slipping through the shadows, moving fast toward the camp. Her hand went to her weapon. "We're not alone," she whispered. Jack stood, the predator rising beside him, eyes glowing brighter. "Then let's show them what trust can do." The warning drums began to beat across the camp. Warriors grabbed weapons, rushing to the walls. The dark shapes in the jungle moved closer, their eyes glowing in the night. A pack of massive night stalkers, larger than any Lyra had seen before. The war chief shouted orders. "Hold the gates. Keep them out." But the creatures didn't stop. They were fast, climbing the walls like shadows, leaping over with sharp claws and snarling jaws. The first warrior was dragged down before he could scream. Lyra ran forward, blades ready. But Jack was already moving. He stepped into the center of the chaos, the apex predator right beside him. The beast roared, a thunderous sound that rolled through the entire camp. The night stalkers hesitated, recognizing the voice of the jungle's king. Then the battle began. One of the night stalkers lunged for Lyra. Jack whistled sharply, and in a blur, the predator slammed into the attacker, throwing it across the ground. Another leapt at Jack, but he ducked, the predator's claws ripping it away before it touched him. The alien warriors watched in shock as the human and the monster fought as one. Every move in perfect rhythm, every strike protecting the other. Lyra joined in, fighting alongside them. For the first time, she felt no fear of the apex predator. She knew it wouldn't harm her, because Jack wouldn't let it. The battle raged, but one by one, the night stalkers fell or fled into the darkness. Finally, silence returned, broken only by heavy breathing and the crackle of torches. The predator stood over the last fallen attacker, chest rising and falling, before turning to Jack. It lowered its head, and Jack placed a hand on it with a small smile. Around them, the alien warriors slowly lowered their weapons. The war chief stepped forward, eyes fixed on Jack. "No one in our history has ever done what you have done," he said. "You have tamed death itself." Jack shook his head. "I didn't tame him. I earned his trust. That's stronger than any weapon." Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. In her world, strength had always meant fear and control. But tonight, she had seen a new kind of strength, one that made even the deadliest beast stand beside a human like a friend. From that night on, the story spread through every village, every city, every world. They called him the human who walked with the apex predator. And when danger came again to the jungle, the people knew they were not alone. Because somewhere out there, a man and his beast still walked together.